So I find myself very interested in soft drinks, in using them on the show, in making soft drinks, in kind of the history and development of soft drinks, kind of everything about soft drinks. It's, I don't know, it just kind of presents an entirely new territory for me on the channel, and just fun new things to try and play with and do. Something that you may or may not have heard me say on the show before is that I personally believe that Coca-Cola is one of the most complex and nuanced cocktails that you can buy. Certainly pre-made cocktails you can buy. There are so many flavors that go into making Coca-Cola, the final product being a synthesis of those flavors, that in a lot of ways, it presents in a bottle, in a soft drink version, the best of what a cocktail aspires to be. And there are other colas out there, like Coca-Cola, that have ancient and storied histories that date back to the 1800s, around the time that Coca-Cola was catching on, and I thought it'd be fun to review them. So today on How to Drink, I am looking at old colas. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to start with Coca-Cola, kind of get a baseline idea of what we're talking about when we talk about colas. So here we go. Coca-Cola. I'd like to buy the world a Coke, as they said in a commercial once in the 60s. It is mildly citrusy. It is mildly cinnamony and mildly nutmeggy. There's also a large vanilla component in there that I've never picked out really that carefully before. And then that just resolved into caramel. It's delicious. Coca-Cola is delicious. That's why it's so popular. One thing I've heard, by the way, is that Coca-Cola's distribution system is so elaborate and so complicated and so all-encompassing that I heard from a CIA analyst that if you're ever in a country and find that you can't buy a Coca-Cola, you should get out because collapse is imminent. Coca-Cola has exited the country. They have a very good intel operation. They know to be out. I don't know if that's true. It's just something I heard. Yeah, I think honestly, if you were trying to break down Coca-Cola in a really objective way, you would say that it kind of follows a lot of the Christmas spices. It's in the vein of Angostura bitters. It's less bitter, and it's much sweeter. It's a highly sweetened product. In fact, I've often said that I think it'd be really cool if there was, well, there are, a cola that was lower sweetness and like more concentrated flavors so that it would stand up to mixing better. There probably are. In this episode, I'm not looking for, I think I did just pick up on a very faint note of bubblegum. And so in looking, in this episode, I'm specifically looking at old colas that have been around since kind of the dawn of cola, to the extent that you can still get them. I think there's a whole nother episode in looking at gourmet colas, because there's a whole new market segment of, you know, I think Fever Tree makes a cola, certainly Fentimans makes a cola. I could do a whole review of just like modern gourmet improved colas. I'm looking at classic colas today, like classic Coca-Cola. Well, I mean, that's kind of our baseline, right? Sweet, lightly citrusy, Christmas spicery. The inventor of Christmas, Coca-Cola and Charles Dickens. A lot of people think that Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus, or at least the red and white look of Santa. I looked into that once. I don't think that that's true. I think that they really pounced on it, but I don't think that's true. Maybe Coca-Cola did invent red and white Santa, but they certainly didn't invent Santa. The carbonation is like a key component of the flavor profile of Coca-Cola. The way it dances on your tongue is huge. All right, I mean, you've had a Coca-Cola before, I'm sure. We don't need to spend any more time on Coke. We want to get into the more interesting things, the weirder things. This is RC Cola, also known as Royal Crown. This was a favorite of my grandparents. It's been around since 1905. Yeah, they were a Royal Crown household for some reason. I don't know. I don't know where Royal Crown is popular, but I haven't had one of these in many, many years, like literally since I was a child. And these are actually still pretty accessible. You don't have to like, order them online or do anything special to get them. Like you can probably find these somewhere near you, probably. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they have a very limited distribution pattern. It is a twist off, but it's more fun to pop everything. RC Cola, how does it stack up against our Coca Cola? This probably could have been a blind taste test. Well, no, not really, because we're not doing that in this. We're just looking at these classicals. I have some, and I do have some carbonated water over here that I'm going to be using to cleanse my palate, and I really should do that right now. I'm only doing like 8 of these, which is still a lot, but like palate fatigue is definitely going to be an issue on these colas. That works though. Okay, here we go. RC. More vanilla, I think. slightly more vanilla, less citrus. I don't think it's, let's see how much sugar it is, because I don't think it's actually sweeter, but the reduced citrus definitely does kind of make it present sweeter. 39 grams of sugar. This is 43 grams of sugar, so this is more sugar. Slightly more sugar. Still, it's in the same range, but 5 grams more sugar. Grams, real tiny. It's more carbonated, at least this bottle. There's some bright notes in there. What is that? Honestly, it's a little more one note than Coca Cola. There's a little less to pick apart here. I do think that there's probably a reason why Coca Cola is kind of the reigning champ, and it's not just marketing, although it's a lot of marketing. And maybe a few death squads too. Certainly, that might be more, I don't know my Coke history that well. That might be more sort of a Dole fruit kind of thing for sure. I don't know about Coke, how nasty they got too. I'm sure they got pretty nasty. Mild vanilla notes, mild acidity. It has kind of a metallic finish that Coca-Cola doesn't have, that I'm not in love with. It's missing kind of a late developing finisher note where Coca-Cola has it. It really rides out on a vanilla nutmeg kind of thing. I consider this to be an inferior cola. It just has a much less robust, the flavor profile covers a much narrower spectrum and has a shorter evolution. So it's not as good as Coca-Cola. Let's move to the next one. I love the branding on some of these older bottles. This is Spiffy Cola. What an adorable little boy. Around since 1934. Look at that little monster. Look at that fucker. Look at that guy. Okay, so this is a, I don't know, defunct brand. This is an old brand. A lot of these brands, like Spiffy Cola, that are gonna appear in this episode, you might find them at a Cracker Barrel or something like that, or I think I bought mine at a World Market. They're bottled by a company called Orca Bottling. Orca owns the license and rights and recipes to a bunch of these older brands and keeps them alive. And so, as far as I know, this should be as close as you can get to whatever the original Spiffy Cola was from 1934 today. Spiffy Cola, a swell cola drink. It's got normal things in there. It is caffeinated. That's not a mandatory thing, by the way. There's no rule that says cola has to be caffeinated. This one is caffeinated. Coke is, of course, famously caffeinated. They add that in. Caffeine is, as I have recently learned, a bittering agent, so that's a component of the flavor profile. And also, they don't need to be cola flavored as well. Cola is a nut that does have a, I think, slightly bitter flavor. It is a natural source of caffeine, and it doesn't really add much to the flavor to the extent that anything ever had cola in it. As far as I know, it was used for caffeination. There is one bottle of cola in that fridge that I'm gonna be getting to, I forget which, that actually does have cola nuts in it. I think it's the Dublin stuff that I have. And I'll be very curious to see what that's like. So here we go, Spiffy. Make mine a Spiffy. Doesn't sound right. A little sip here of the old palate cleanser. All right, let's see a Spiffy. Again, doesn't sound right. I don't know why it doesn't, but it doesn't. Cool. Wow, that's way different. That's neat. A lot more fruit notes. Cherry. Not quite like a cherry Coke or anything like that, but there are cherry notes in there. It's got like a kind of a stone fruit vibe. That's fun. It still has kind of the similar bottom notes that like you would expect from a cola. You know what too? I always wonder, like, I wish I was wearing, well, I don't know. You already know that cola is dark in color, so even if you were blindfolded, if you knew you were drinking a cola, you would still have the psychological effects of it being dark in color. But the darkness of the cola does affect your experience of the flavor. There's no question about that. It colors what you're expecting, and that will dictate. I tell this story sometimes. When I was a kid one time, I was at my friend's like Thanksgiving, and I had a slice of the cheesecake, and I freaked out. I was like, this is disgusting cheesecake. This is absolutely horrific. And I think I didn't know it was possible, but like the dairy in this cheesecake, the cheese has gone sour. And I was then corrected that it was a key lime pie that just happened to be very white and thick, and then it became delicious. So your visual perceptions of what something is are gonna affect your experience of it. So I'm gonna go back in here again. That's really neat. I'm so happy that there's like a huge variation here, because like the RC was just lesser Coke. This is a different thing entirely. Cool. Absolutely maybe even a touch of grape. It almost has like a grape wine kind of component to it. A very distant raisiny note, definitely some cherry note, definitely some currant. This is fruity. It's still a cola, but there are fruit notes in this that are not present in either of those. That's so cool to me. All this cola is making my kidneys hurt. Oh, that's cool. It's totally orange. Definitely big orange notes in there too. Coca Cola has orange as a flavor component in it, but it doesn't come to the fore the way it does in Spiffy. Spiffy's my favorite so far. I'm impressed. But Coke is so good. That's tough. All right, let's get the next one. We're coming to Nichol Cola, by far my favorite branding of all of these. I just love the red, black, and white, the clean text, the arc there. It's gorgeous. 1935. America's Taste Sensation. All of these are going to basically say the same thing on the back, except for when I think we get to the Dublin. I'm pulling these out in whatever order my hand grabs them. Carbonated water, cane sugar, caramel color, phosphoric acid, caffeine, natural flavorings, sodium benzoate, which is a preservative. The only thing that might be different is that they might use different acids. They're mostly going to use phosphoric acid. So far, they all use phosphor. It's a pretty neutral acid, and if I understand correctly, it's pretty cheap. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't considered checking out my Patreon yet, please do. If you like the show and if you want it to continue, you'll find a link in the pinned comment below or up here in the corner. Things that you'll find over there are like behind the scenes content about things I'm doing on the show, first looks at things that are coming up sometimes, cut parts of episodes that didn't make it, that weren't really appropriate for the public. You can watch episodes of How to Drink ad-free. One thing a lot of people seem to really love is the private Discord server that I run with an amazing mod by the name of Dennis. And so all of that and more can be yours at my Patreon and link down here or over here. You know, it's expensive to run a YouTube show, so thank you to my patrons and thank you to you, even if you just go take a look and, you know, think about it. I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Nichol Cola. Probably only costs a nickel. All right, here we go. Nichol Cola. Again, totally different. Huh. Wow. What am I getting there? What is that? What is that flavor? That's a little different. What is that? It might be a touch more vanilla. It's tough. You know, these colas, they have so many different flavor components kind of packed into them that are combining and synthesizing into essentially a new flavor, a gestalt flavor. You know, you're not really supposed to be able to pick them apart, to be honest. So it's hard to do, but I will tell you it's different from all of the rest of them. It might be slightly higher pH, might be have a slightly lower acid content. That might be a factor here. Wow, what is that? Cinnamon. That's what it is. It's a cinnamon note. God, it was so hard to find. Why? It's because it's a lot sweeter than you normally present cinnamon, and with acidity, it kind of takes on a new color. I think that's what I'm gonna tell myself. That's why I was having a really hard time finding that. Yeah, I would say this is primarily kind of cinnamon forward. I like that. I like that. Definitely has a, now I'm really identifying. Yeah, once you name it, sometimes you, oh yeah, there it is. It has a real strong cinnamon finish. Not like hot cinnamon, like what are those, little Red Hots or whatever? Not at all, but definitely cinnamon notes on the outro there. The outro. This is fun. Aren't we having fun? Woo! So this is Dublin Vintage. If I'm not mistaken, they come from Dublin, Texas, and their bottling plant is, I might be going off, but I might be wrong here. Well, it's certainly where Dr. Pepper was bottled for many years. Dr. Pepper has moved their bottling, I think, in-house, essentially, since I don't know when. More recent than you think, though. I think it might even be where the Dr. Pepper company got its start. It's been around for a really long time. Dublin has two colas. They have Dublin Vintage Cola, and then they have Dublin Founders 1891. We're gonna do both on this. This one, carbonated water, pure cane sugar, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, and caffeine. I'm pretty sure the 1891 actually says cola nut on the bottle, so I'm kind of excited to see what that's about. This is not bottled by Orca. They are their own independent company. Whoa. This is a huge departure. Let me just take a sip of seltzer. All this cola is making my seltzer taste like nasty pool water, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Tasting fatigue. My taste buds are thrown. So, okay, let's get back into this one for a second here. It was definitely a huge departure. That might be raspberry. There might be a real raspberry note up front, or blackberry. It's got a berry note. That is wild. Oh, I like that. I gotta tell you, I was not expecting there to be this much variation between these. I like that a lot. Maybe blackberry. Certainly there's some vanilla in there. Well balanced. Yeah, that sounds crazy. By cola terms, it is well balanced. Like, it's got the right acidity to sweetness ratio that you want from a cola. Let me see, what is the sugar content on this? 39 grams, so this is in line with Coca Cola. I don't know that it is specifically raspberry, but I'm registering it in that space. Raspberries tend to be more tart than this. This is like taking raspberry essence and pairing it with a level of acidity that would not be present in actual raspberries, like lower acidity than an actual raspberry would have. So it presents not exactly the same as raspberry. You wouldn't call this a raspberry soda. It doesn't taste like you went outside and plucked a raspberry. It's just that there's raspberry notes there, kind of sideways, because you changed the acid content. That's cool. That's pretty neat. I like that. Was Spiffy my favorite so far? Or was it Nichol? I kind of forget. I think it's I like the Nichol a lot. I really like the way it finishes. A lot. It's a bit of a mistake there, because when you go back to back on them, they do start to taste the same. You gotta put a break in there. All right, let's get to the next one. I'm gonna get some seltzer too. This is triple cola. It's originally from 1921, it says. The ingredients are the same as the other: carbonated water, cane sugar, caramel color, phosphoric acid, caffeine, natural flavorings, and sodium benzoate, a preservative. It's about what natural flavorings you use and the levels you use them in, right? That's what makes all these different. So here we go. Triple cola. I hope I have a bottle here. I swear I ordered one for this of double cola. I didn't see it in the fridge a minute ago. I'm gonna look again. Triple cola obviously responds to double cola. You double, we're triple. Yeah. It's a bit of a that's a weird flavor. I'm not. Oh man. At first I didn't love it, but now I'm hopelessly addicted. What is that? I mean, that tastes a little like chemistry. It doesn't taste like a thing that you would find in nature. It's got to be some cinnamon, and it's got to be some allspice and nutmeg and vanilla. It's in that Coca-Cola direction, but there is a, I actually don't know if acrid is the right word. There's a bite in here, and it's not from the acidity that is not present elsewhere. I mean, it's like it's a slightly angry spice. At first, it took me by surprise. It caught me a little off guard, but now I'm kind of like, all right, wait a minute, I might like that. This might mix really well. It might stand up to like rum or something very well. It's gonna sound awful. It tastes slightly like the smell of new plastic, but not in a way that you don't like or that I don't like. Not in a way that's unpleasant. It's just that, like, I don't know what other oh, peppercorn. Holy shit, that just came out of nowhere. Absolutely, black peppercorn. I don't know if that's actually in there. I don't know if they're using that as a flavor, but right there for just a split tick, I got a little bit of black pepper at the end. Definitely, wow. I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if the plastic note is the front end of the black peppercorn, if that's what is in fact in there. Oh, me. Neat. I've thought about making some peppercorn extract and playing with it, actually. That's an idea. I like that idea. I love black pepper as a flavor. I'm ready for the next cola. Keep them coming. Well, this brings me to my final cola, Dublin 1891, Founder's Recipe. I don't have the double cola. I might have to make that a patron exclusive when I can get a bottle of that. I must have ordered it and then either the order got canceled or switched or something. That's very frustrating. So this is Dublin Cola's 1891 Founder's Recipe. It is their first product, allegedly. I mean, not allegedly. This is their first product. I said allegedly. What I mean is, 1891 till now, I'm sure the recipe has changed some. I will say, this is the only one that gets specific on the label. Carbonated water, pure cane sugar, caramel, colored phosphoric acid, natural flavors, citric acids, first time I've seen that anywhere, sodium benzoate, caffeine, and then cola nut, cinnamon flavoring. So you got both. They're telling you flat out, we got cola nut, we got cinnamon. So very excited by this because this is the one with the cola nut in it. It's a twist off, I should have just twisted it. Not that the other ones definitely don't have cola nut in them. We don't know what's in their, quote, natural flavors. It's just that they're kind of boasting it, in my opinion. It smells so cool. I mean, I didn't do that with any other ones. Do they all have that smell? No. This smells like bubblegum. Just slight, I mean, in that space. Yeah, no, none of these have any. They have a mild aromas, but they don't smell like that. That's a powerful aroma. All right, let's see what's going on here. This is root beer. I mean, this is way closer to a root beer than a Coca Cola. That's crazy. It's got like some cream soda components or elements in there too. Wait a minute. This is Dr. Pepper. That's what this is. Hang on. I mean, I know that's where Dr. Pepper comes from. This is Dr. Pepper. Well, I'll be damned. Yeah, it's Dr. Pepper. Do I have any Dr. Pepper I can compare that with? I probably do. I'm gonna go get a Dr. Pepper. All right, so I got my Dr. Pepper. I mean, I had to because, I just wanted to say that the word cola appears on here. Dublin, 1891, founder's recipe, cola. Do we consider Dr. Pepper to be a cola? I don't know. I think it's far enough away from a cola. I don't think so. I don't think you would. It's interesting. You put cola on there. Does it become cola? When does it stop being cola? You know, if you took Sprite and called it cola, would it be cola? I don't think so. That's an interesting question about Dr. Pepper. It might just be a very askew cola, a weird cola. Well, this was a twist. Okay, here we go. Dr. Pepper, Dublin, 1891, seltzer. First question I have is, what's their sugar contents? Are they similar? This is only 37 grams of sugar. This is 39. I have a 1 gram weight over there. It's about the size of a pencil tip, okay? A gram is very small. You put that gram in your hand though, you don't even know you're holding it, I'll say that. All right, here we go. Dr. Pepper. This is a louder flavor and it lingers a long time. It is, I think, sweeter, like perceptibly, but not by a lot. This is more singularly the flavor of Dr. Pepper, if that makes any sense. Whereas this, I do think there's a little more nuance in there, some more flavors. There's definitely a vanilla and sassafras component in here to my mouth. Could be wrong, that's what I'm picking up on. Like, it does taste like you mixed a cream soda and a root beer together. It also has that distinct Dr. Pepper flavor, you know? It does. Man, do I have any root beers? Now I'm wondering, do I have any cream sodas? I really don't. I almost want to try that. I bet you could make Dr. Pepper or something very like it by mixing cream soda and root beer. I know a lot of people say that Dr. Pepper is prune flavored. I don't buy that, frankly, or, I mean, I can see there being plums in it, but like prune? I know prunes are just dried plums. I know there's a lot of Dr. Pepper aficionados out there. Hank Green, looking at you. If you love Dr. Pepper, get yourself some 1891. I would like you to try this. I'd be really curious to know what you think of this. I think it's a really it's curious. It's a curious beverage. It's a curious cola. That's all the colas I got to test today, so I am done. See you next time on another episode of How to Drink.